would like to welcome our esteemed ministers to this forum. To this day, we have had sports ministers from various countries participate in our fora, and we have signed memoranda about reviving traditional sports, about ministries supporting traditional sports and games in their countries. We have signed with, I think, 12 countries to this day, and through the contribution of ministers in our forum, we are also making sure that our member organizations in countries are in touch with their relevant ministries, and that we sort of try to support our members to become visible in the eyes of their ministries. So I think it's a good venue, even though it's annual only. It's not very often. We unite once a year, but we want to make sure that the sports ministries realize that there are traditional sports organizations and federations in their countries, and that they should make sure that part of the resources that they use for sports are also used for traditional sports. Because from our research, we find that about half of today's population globally, they are almost disenfranchised from sports, either practicing or even following sports. So traditional sports is one way of encouraging more people into sports through its cultural themes, through its local relevance. That's why I think there is a chance, even within the Sports for All movement, I think traditional sports can play an important role in increasing participation of more people into sports. And the theme of today's ministerial panel is how can we use traditional sports to increase international collaboration and partnership. As I always say, sometimes the focus on local cultures might be perceived as a way of differentiating people. The argument is, if the world increasingly becomes like one country, let's say, everybody speaks one language, everybody dresses the same, everybody listens to same musics and watches the same movies, one might think that this would be a more peaceful place. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because people have attachments to their roots and to their values. And if you try to change them, if you try to alter those, people can react negatively to these influences. That's why I think if we encourage people to practice their cultures, encourage people to preserve their values, this can contribute to mutual respect and dialogue based on that respect. That's why I think it's an opportune moment to talk about how we can use traditional sports as a means to increasing international dialogue. I will start with my country's Minister of Sports first. How do you see the development of traditional sports in Turkey? We have started in Bishkek in 2015. We have moved our headquarters to Istanbul 2017. There are two different sports federations in Turkey to promote traditional sports and games. How do you see the development of traditional sports in Turkey?
Teşekkür ediyorum Sayın Başkan, çok değerli katılımcılar, değerli misafirler. Öncelikle 5. Ethnosport Forumu'nun hayırlı olmasını diliyorum. Tabii ki Dünya Ethnospor Konfederasyonu'nun çatısı altında 5 yıldan beri devam eden bu forum. Özellikle bu günlerde içinde yaşamış olduğumuz süreçleri hepimizin malumu. Özellikle sporun ruhuna, sporun birleştiren sporun kardeşliğe, sporun barışa, sporun sevgiye katkılarını inanıyorum ki daha çok hissetme adına insanları, toplumları bu anlamda
Sabah.
bir birliktelik noktasında, uzlaşı noktasında, bir adalet çıtasında birleştirme adına hayırlar getirsin diyorum. Tabii ki can Azerbaycan'a, özellikle ev sahipliği için bu anlamdaki her zamanki gibi samimiyetleri, misafirperverlikleri için teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii aynı zamanda bu süreçlerde hep birlikte olduğumuz önceki Gençlik Spor Bakanı Azat Rahimov'u bu vesileyle rahmetle, minnetle yad ediyorum. Kendisinin bu süreçlere çok ciddi katkıları oldu. Pek çok vesileyle de bir arada olduk. Maalesef kendisini geçtiğimiz yıl kaybettik. Allah rahmet eylesin, mekanı cennet olsun. Tabii yeni bakanımız Ferit Bey, bugünkü ev sahibimiz. Kendisine başarılar diliyorum. Ve inşallah hem ülkeler arası hem bu anlamda spordaki işbirlikleri açısından da güçlü birlikteliklerimizin daim olmasını temenni ediyorum. Tabii spor, az önce de açılışta da sıkça ifade edildi. Sporun ruhunda kardeşlik var. Sporun ruhunda sevgi var. Sporun ruhunda uzlaşı var. Ve sporun her bir branşı bizler için çok kıymetli. Bizim Türkiye'deki spor politikamızın temelinde sporun birkaç branştan ibaret olmadığı vurgusu var. Bu anlamda geliştirdiğimiz politikalar var, yatırımlar var, projeler var. Ve bu projeler çerçevesinde de hamdolsun Türkiye'de 60'tan fazla branşı destekliyoruz devlet olarak. Ve bu 60 branşın üstünde bir branşa yatırım yapıyoruz. Sporcusuna, antrenörüne, tesisine pek çok destekler veriyoruz. Ve bu çerçevede tabii popüler kültürün ortaya koymuş olduğu bir takım dayatmalara da tabii ki meydan okumuş oluyoruz. İşte bu meydan okumalardan biri de bugünkü forumumuzun ana kaynağı olan Ethnospor, geleneksel sporlar ve az önce Sayın Başkan'ın da ifade ettiği gibi 2015'ten bu yana çok ciddi bir ivme var. Çok ciddi bir birliktelik var. Ve bu anlamda geliştirilen işbirlikleri sayesinde çok da güzel sonuçları hep birlikte hamdolsun ki yaşıyoruz. Hem ülkeler olarak hem Türkiye olarak ve Türkiye'nin 81 ilinde geleneksel sporlara çok ciddi bir ilgiyi, bu anlamdaki bir teveccühü sizlere özellikle ifade etmek isterim. Bununla birlikte tabii ki gerek bakanlık olarak, gerek federasyonlarla birlikte, geleneksel spor dalları federasyonlarıyla, yeni federasyonları inşallah önümüzdeki günlerde yine birlikte geliştireceğiz, güçlendireceğiz. Gerek federasyonlar ve gerekse kulüpler, kulüpleşme her branşta olduğu gibi geleneksel sporlarda da bizler için çok önemli bir adım ve bu adımı da yine yayılmış bir şekilde sadece birkaç vilayette, birkaç merkezde değil, Türkiye'nin hemen hemen tamamında doğusuyla, batısıyla, kuzeyiyle, güneyiyle, bir yandan kulüpleriyle, bir yandan tesisleri, devasa tesislerimiz biliyorsunuz Türkiye spor tesisleşmesi noktasında son 20 yılda bir devrimi gerçekleştirdi. Pek çok branşta sadece devasa stadyumlar değil, spor salonları değil, yüzmesiyle, salon sporlarıyla, atletizm alanlarıyla her alanda olduğu gibi geleneksel sporlarda da mükemmel bir tesisleşme var ve bunu da az önce ifade etmiş olduğum şekilde tamamen erişilebilirlik politikası kapsamında tüm Türkiye'ye yayarak gerçekleştiriyoruz. Buna birlikte tabii sporcuların desteklenmesi, sporcuların teşvik edilmesi, rakamlarla ifade etmek gerekirse pandemiye rağmen sporcu sayısında 2 katı bir artışı Türkiye'de gerçekleştirdik. Ve buna birlikte yine kulüpler, sporcular ve müsabakalar. Müsabaka sayısında da yine %100'e varan bir artış söz konusu. Pandemi süreci biliyorsunuz pek çok alanda olduğu gibi özellikle spor alanında da pek çok kısıtlamayı beraberinde getirdi. Ama bunlara rağmen son 2 yıllık süreçte dahi çok ciddi artışlar var. İnanıyorum ki pandeminin etkisinden kurtuldukça da bu çıtayı birlikte yükselteceğiz. Özellikle tabii geleneksel sporlarda başarılar ve bu anlamda görünürlük arttıkça gençlerin ve özellikle eğitim camiasındaki gençlerin ilgisi artıyor. Ve bu noktada da bizim bakanlık olarak işbirliklerimiz hem eğitim camiası hem de bakanlığımızın biliyorsunuz 400 tane gençlik merkezi var. Tüm gençlik merkezlerimizde geleneksel sporlarla ilgili çalışmalarımız var. Ve bununla birlikte yine gençlik kamplarımız, 50'ye yakın gençlik kampıyla yılın 12 ayı sadece Türkiye'den gençler değil, dünyanın dört bir tarafından gelen gençlerin bir araya geldiği bir kardeşlik iklimini inşa ediyoruz. Yine kamplarımızda da geleneksel spor vurgumuz, geleneksel spor faaliyetlerimiz de tüm hızıyla devam ediyor. Ben inanıyorum ki tüm branşlarda olduğu gibi özellikle spora erişilebilirliği daha da artırdıkça, spor kültürünü güçlendirdikçe geleneksel sporda da var olan potansiyelimizi hep birlikte çok daha farklı noktalara taşımış olacağız. Ben özellikle her yıl gerçekleşen bu forum hakikaten çıktıları itibariyle bu anlamdaki geleceğimize ışık tutması açısından da çok ama çok önemli. Ben özellikle konfederasyonumuzu, değerli başkanımızı ve ekibini de bu anlamlı çalışma için ayrıca tebrik ediyor, teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Kasapoğlu of Turkey. I try to remind myself that we no longer call Turkey Turkey. We want to call it Turkey from now on. It's been quite a story about the name of Turkey in English, and now I think we have decided to go with Turkey to differentiate ourselves from a certain delicious animal. I would like to now go to Her Excellency Ana Gabriela Guevara Espinoza of Mexico. She is the director of CONAD, the organization in Mexico that oversees all sports activities. Herself is an Olympic medalist, a champion sprinter, and we have been in close contact. We have participated in a CONAD assembly last year in Mexico. I would like to thank her for her hospitality. And she's here today with her daughter Mia. And of all days, this is Mia's birthday. I hope she has a nice birthday. Why don't we give her an applause? Your Excellency, what sort of institutions or strategic partners do we need to create a sustainable development of traditional sports and games? How do you see it working out in Mexico, which has a very rich heritage and history?
Sí, muchas gracias a todos, presidente. Un gusto estar aquí en este congreso, en colaboración con todos ustedes. Me parece un momento importante de paso de todo lo que estamos viviendo y sobre todo un gran ejercicio. Creo que el deporte nos logra unir y logramos establecer esto, un encuentro, un diálogo de cómo construir mejores pasos hacia el futuro. Para México el deporte tradicional y autóctono es importantísimo y esto creo que tiene que ir de la mano en ambos sentidos. Una desde el Ministerio del Deporte, por supuesto. La otra es que los deportes tradicionales y autóctonos en nuestro país está federado, existe una federación de ello y también el que no solamente se queda en el ejercicio de la institución, sino que también acompañamos esta fortaleza y esta búsqueda de que los deportes autóctonos y tradicionales estén en el marco legal. La ley en México se modificó en el año 2000, donde enfatiza principalmente el fomento, la difusión y la promoción de la entidad que debe tener estos deportes para poder seguir adelante. Los juegos y los deportes tradicionales debemos de buscar que tengan la misma igualdad y la misma inclusión que el resto de los deportes. Vengo de una región de México, en el norte de México, donde solamente en mi estado hay 8 etnias, distintas etnias, de las cuales son muy distintas y muy diversas, y de ahí mi interés y mi gusto, porque a partir de este congreso y a partir de lo que hacemos en este congreso se fortalezca la entidad, su lengua, sus costumbres y sobre todo una herramienta tan rica como la es el deporte. Sin duda queda mucho por hacer, son muchas las etnias, son muchas las disciplinas, pero creo que la mejor manera de demostrar desde mi trabajo, desde mi trinchera, es el que llevemos a cabo los nacionales año con año, y cada vez es más la participación y cada vez buscamos que sea mayor el número de participantes. A través de ello es que hacemos visible que la gente lo entienda, que la gente lo vea, que la gente logre compenetrarse con cada una de las disciplinas deportivas que las etnias tienen. Mi país es muy grande, pero por supuesto que hay una que sobresale de todas y que es la disciplina deportiva madre de todas, que es el juego de pelota, una de las disciplinas que ha logrado no solamente ser una bandera o estandarte de nuestro país al interior de México, sino también una de las mayor atracción a nivel mundial, y que es patrimonio de la humanidad, su espacio y también la disciplina.
Thank you very much. Where is Ana Claudia? I don't see her. What are you doing? So Ana Claudia is the head of our member organization in Mexico, and she received our award last year in our awards, third Ethnosport Awards, for being a successful member organization. So there is really a very rich heritage of traditional sports in Mexico, and I think when I was there, I realized it was actually beyond my expectations that the Mexican people are interested in reviving their heritage, preserving their culture. So there is really there is really fertile ground to grow traditional sports in Mexico, especially ulama being a very fun to watch game. We have two guest ministers from Western Africa. I would like to start with His Excellency Bakari Baji of the Gambia. Where in Western Africa, especially traditional wrestling is really gathering audiences, masses to watch, and it is almost competing with soccer in West Africa, which is, I was in Dakar for the opening of the Senegal Stadium. There is really, in Africa, obviously football is loved, but traditional wrestling in Western Africa is also loved. There are arenas for wrestling, and people flock to those gatherings. What are your action plans to support traditional sports in your country, Mr. Minister, Your Excellency?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone, and to those that are in the panel. Now, you're right. You started off with the introduction of Gambia and West Africa having a very large population of people who practice traditional sports. Specifically, wrestling is the most popular one, but of course there are other forms of traditional sports.
You have some river games, I think, right?
Yes, the canoe, the boat riding.
Yes.
You know, people go into the rivers and participate in competing in kind of racing in boats. You have the board games that people do. Traditional, the kite that usually is done by the kids. And quite a number of other sports that are taking place there. But of course, wrestling is the most popular, and you rightly mentioned, football is or soccer, like some people will call it, is the most popular sport virtually around the world, including Gambia. But traditional wrestling is the second biggest, in the Gambia when it comes to sports. And there are some others across the country, regions that are doing it as well. But anytime you come to the stadium and they tell you that this is wrestling, you would think it's also football because of the number of people that attend it. So policy-wise, recently, a few months ago, actually late part of last year, we started revising our Sports Act, and wrestling and others are captured effectively as one of the sports that needs to be promoted. But also there is a federation specifically responsible, it's called the Gambia Wrestling Federation, that is responsible for the promotion of wrestling, and that is the only federation that focuses on traditional sports. So our role as a ministry, as a government, is to ensure that we provide the right policies and the environment is being created so that anyone who is participating in sports is protected, but that the commercialization part of it is also there, even though from ethnosports, traditional sports, the focus is to look at sports that are participated to promote peaceful coexistence and not the economic part. But because of the development and the transformation that have happened in the area of traditional sports, it is now being commercialized in the Gambia. So one is our policy part. The second thing is the creation of the environment. And the third is the infrastructural development. Because for many years, despite it being done, it's mostly at a football field where people go to do their traditional sports. So currently, with the support of some partners, we are constructing areas that are specific for traditional sports, specifically for wrestling in all the regions. We have 7 regions in the Gambia, so each of those regions will have a pitch or a court that will be specific for wrestling to be conducted without having to interfere with the activities of football. So pretty much these are some of the issues that we're doing, but we also understand that we cannot promote traditional sports without having the international support, the international linkage. So we are going beyond borders. We're going beyond Gambia to learn lessons from Senegal and also collaborate in Senegal, but also participate in the West African wrestling competition, that is usually done. So Senegal, like you said recently, is one of those advanced countries. So pretty much these are some of the things we are doing, and it's been going smoothly lately.
Thank you very much. Well, as the Confederation, we have started setting up regional committees to make sure that organizations meet more often in their neighborhood countries and develop their common sports more easily. We have started with the Central Asian Committee with the leadership of Mr. Bekpolat Tülekhan. Then we have started the Eastern European Committee. And the third committee to set up was the Western African Committee. So we are working closely with ECOWAS and the Western African Wrestling Organization. My colleagues have attended events in Senegal as well. In that sense, I would like to go to Niger, His Excellency Adamu Sekudoro. Your Excellency, how do you think we can I know that wrestling is a common sport in Western Africa, and it has contributed greatly to the interaction of Western African nations culturally among each other. How do you see the role of traditional sports in your case in Western Africa, bringing together countries and creating positive interactions?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Permettez-moi d'abord, avant de commencer, de remercier Son Excellence le Président de la République, M. Ilham Aliyev, Président de la République d'Azerbaïdjan. Remercier aussi Son Excellence le Ministre de la Jeunesse Sport, M. Faïd Gaïvov, et ses proches collaborateurs de la ville de Baku, à travers eux, tout le peuple d'Azerbaïdjan, pour leur accueil sans égal à notre égard. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Ministre. Mes remerciements vont également à l'endroit du président Bilal Erdogan, du World Ethnosport, secrétaire général, son secrétaire général, M. Mohamed Abdoulahim Askou, et leur équipe pour l'initiative de ce forum, par lequel nous abordons toute la problématique de la sauvegarde et la promotion des jeux et sports traditionnels sur le plan mondial.
Merci.
Mesdames et messieurs, au Niger, chez nous, en Afrique et même dans le reste du monde, Les jeux et sports traditionnels font partie intégrante de l'histoire et de l'identité de nos peuples et représentent ainsi de véritables patrimoines culturels immatériels véhiculant d'innombrables valeurs éducatives et sociales. Ces derniers peuvent constituer de véritables outils éducatifs importants avec des enjeux socio-culturels inimaginables. Par les valeurs qu'ils véhiculent et le pouvoir extraordinaire des jeux et sports traditionnels, comme patrimoine culturel, vecteur de paix et d'échange et du dialogue interculturel entre les peuples, leur sauvegarde par tous s'avère nécessaire et primordiale afin de les conserver et éviter leur appauvrissement et leur disparition au nom de la jeunesse qui a tant besoin. C'est pourquoi, au nom de son Excellence, le président Bazoum Mohamed, président de la République du Niger et le chef du gouvernement, son Excellence Oumoudou Mamadou, nous avons fait le déplacement de Baku pour qu'ensemble, en collaboration avec le World Ethnosport Committee, l'UNESCO et d'autres institutions continentales et nationales ici présentes, de réfléchir et débattre sur les modalités d'action pour non seulement sauvegarder et promouvoir durablement les jeux et sports traditionnels africains et mondiaux, mais aussi de créer, de développer, de consolider un meilleur partenariat. Le Niger bénéficie d'un patrimoine riche comportant plusieurs formes de jeux et sports traditionnels et culturels, parmi lesquels la course des chevaux, le jeu du dili, le dembé, les danses guerwel, le bitiharey et la lutte traditionnelle, le jeu le plus populaire au Niger. Notre pays attache beaucoup d'intérêt aux jeux et aux sports traditionnels, au point où chaque région est dotée d'une arène de lutte et des jeux traditionnels. Plusieurs d'entre eux peuvent être reversés dans leur forme originale dans le système éducatif national, à l'image de la lutte traditionnelle qui est inscrite depuis 1993 dans les instructions officielles du Niger et retenue comme discipline obligatoire d'enseignement de l'éducation physique et sportive. Au même titre que le volley-ball, le basket, le handball, le football au collège et au lycée. Aussi très bientôt verra le jour au Niger la première édition du festival des jeux et sports traditionnels projeté par mon département ministériel, le temps que le comité d'orientation et d'organisation dépose ses travaux en fin mars 2022. Ce grand festival des jeux et sports traditionnels auquel vous serez vivement et cordialement invités comportera les disciplines suivantes, à savoir la course des chevaux, le jeu du dili, le langa, la course des pirogues, les danses gourwel, le bitiharey et la lutte traditionnelle. Il se déroulera à travers l'expression de nos pures traditions où la performance sportive est reléguée au second rang. Je suis persuadé que ce festival national sera le tremplin pour l'instauration d'un festival zonal, voire continental ou mondial, avec le soutien et l'appui de l'UNESCO, les associations internationales, le WEC, les associations continentales et nationales œuvrant dans le domaine, étant donné que beaucoup de pays de la communauté CEDEAO et de l'Afrique en général ont en commun des jeux et sports traditionnels et culturels. Mesdames et messieurs, j'ai écouté les différentes interventions sur le sport et le sport traditionnel en général. Le sport traditionnel a été pour mon pays fédérateur. Parce que comme je vous ai parlé de le sport roi qui est la lutte traditionnelle, qui chaque année, pendant 10 jours, l'ensemble du pays, qui était à l'époque jadis un simple jeu traditionnel, un simple jeu, est devenu avec le temps un sport moderne qui est fédérateur pour tout le pays. Donc, je voulais, à partir de l'histoire de notre pays, la culture dans les différentes disciplines que nous disposons, faire leur promotion à travers, comme je l'ai dit, le festival que nous allons organiser très bientôt au Niger, le festival de jeux et sports traditionnels que nous allons organiser très bientôt au Niger, pour mettre l'accent et valoriser beaucoup plus ces disciplines-là. Je vous remercie, Excellence.
Merci à vous. Thank you very much. Now I would like to go back to Turkey. The World Nomad Games will be held in Turkey in Iznik, end of September. This is the largest traditional sporting event in the world. And what does it mean for Turkey to hold such an event, and how do you think it will support your international collaboration with the participating countries?
Teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii ki işbirlikleri ve işbirliklerinin en somut örneklerinden biri bugünkü bu forum. Dünya Ethnosport Konfederasyonu en güçlü şekilde vücut bulmuş hali bu işbirliklerinin. Ve tabii ki bu organizasyonlar da bu işbirliklerinin bir sonucu ve önemli bir parçası. Tabii bizim kültürümüzde bir atasözü var. Bir elin nesi, iki elin sesi var. Hakikaten bu birliği, sinerjiyi vurgulama noktasında çok önemli bir anlamı ihtiva ediyor. Bizler hem bu anlamda bir araya gelen ülkeler olarak hem diğer tüm dünya ülkeleri sporun evrensel mesajıyla ve sadece geleneksel branşlarda değil pek çok branşta bir araya geldiklerinde inanıyorum ki az önce konuştuğumuz insanlık adına gelişimleri pek çok sancıyı da geride bırakacağız. O yüzden spor çalışmaları, spor organizasyonları ve tabii ki Sayın Başkan'ın ifade ettiği dünya göçebe oyunları. Hakikaten Kırgızistan'ın bu anlamdaki öncülüğünde gerçekleşmiş ve önemli bir marka haline gelmiş bir çalışma. Ve biz de bunu inşallah bu yıl Türkiye'de, Bursa'da, İznik'te çok özgün bir mekanda, bir coğrafyada sizlerle birlikte taçlandıracağız. İnşallah bir şöleni birlikte yaşayacağız. Gerek geleneksel sporlar adına, gerek ülkelerimiz adına ve gerekse hakikaten o sporun az önce ifade etmiş olduğum evrensel mesajı adına. Biliyorsunuz Türkiye spor turizminde hakikaten çok önemli aşamaları kat etmiş bir ülke ve pek çok modern tesis altyapısıyla bunu ortaya koymuş bir ülke. Pek çok branşa dedim ya pandemiye rağmen durmadık diye. Geçtiğimiz yıl pandemi şartlarına rağmen 200'e yakın uluslararası organizasyonu Türkiye'de gerçekleştirdik. Ve inşallah bu yılda biliyorsunuz hem İslam oyunlarını Konya'da gerçekleştireceğiz ve hem de Dünya Göçebe Oyunlarını yine sizlerle birlikte gerçekleştireceğiz. Ben bunun özellikle katılım açısından da bir milat olacağını düşünüyorum. Hem pandemi sonrası bir potansiyeli ortaya çıkarması açısından. Hem de özellikle tabii ki artan popülarite ve gelişmeler açısından ve bununla birlikte tabii ülkelerin bu anlamdaki işbirlikleri için ben buradaki her bir katılımcıya katkıları için teşekkür ediyorum. İnanıyorum ki hem sporcular açısından sporcu profilinin daha da güçlendirilmesi hem de bu anlamda iletişim, tanıtım noktasında geleneksel sporlar biliyorsunuz konuşmanın ilk bölümünde de bahsettim. Popüler kültürle mücadele ediyor. O popüler kültüre rağmen hakikaten güçlü bir ivme var ve bu ivmeyi inanıyorum ki bu organizasyonla birlikte de daha da artırmış olacağız. Ve tabii özellikle az önce dedim ya 81 ilde farklı farklı ilçelerde, coğrafyalarda Türkiye'de yatırımlar var. Balıkesir'de, Sındırgı'da mesela az önce beyefendi anlattı. Çok mutlu oldum. Geleneksel merkez açıyoruz. Buraları bizim hep birlikte işbirlikleriyle dolu dolu değerlendirmemiz lazım. Sadece bir takım marka organizasyonlarda değil. Ben bu vesileyle buradaki tüm katılımcıları, siz değerli dostlarımızı bu tesisler noktasında kapılarımızın sonuna kadar açık olduğunu vurgulamak istiyorum. Bir davette bulunmak istiyorum. Yeni işbirliklerini geliştirme adına. Çünkü bizler bu işbirliklerini ne kadar güçlendirirsek ve ne kadar farklı bir takım projelerle yeni ufuklar açarsak inanıyorum ki geleneksel sporlarda ve her birinde, sadece birkaçında değil, işte az önce değerli katılımcılardan duyduk. O branşların çeşitliliği çok zenginlik arz ediyor. Bu zenginliği de yansıtma adına ve tabii ki bu bir aynı zamanda bizler için bir emanet, bir miras. Bu mirası daha güçlü bir şekilde gelecek nesillere taşıma adına da yeni projeleri, yeni çalışmaları da birlikte gerçekleştiririz diyorum. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And I would like to go back to Mexico. I know the traditional sports of Mexico have common heritage ties with some of the other countries in the American continent. How can we see traditional sports as a way to increase cultural ties and collaborations with the countries in the continents in neighboring geography, Your Excellency?
Sí, es importante el contexto regional que tiene México. Hay mucha similitud de estas disciplinas y culturales en el caso de un país vecino como es Guatemala y toda la parte de Mesoamérica, donde las disciplinas son muy parecidas y también el intercambio que podamos llegar a tener con la región. Vamos en próximas fechas un planteamiento que surgió del interés del fomento hacia estas disciplinas tradicionales, el hacer un encuentro nacional de todos los deportes relacionados a caballo. Y de ahí del interés de poder invitar a otros países hermanos de Hispanoamérica a participar en este tipo de encuentros donde podamos intercambiar conocimientos y también ver la diversidad que esto pueda representar. Es increíble el número de disciplinas y de diferentes ramas que se pueden llegar a dar, pero México juega una parte preponderante donde creo que podemos hacer este gran encuentro de toda la región, donde podamos potencializar mucho más todo esto. El caso específico del sureste mexicano, donde está la región maya, y que es donde está Teotihuacán, y donde se preserva todavía una de las canchas más emblemáticas del juego de pelota, pero que también pues, la cultura maya no solamente fue de México, sino que estuvo ramificada en gran parte de Centroamérica y en otros estados del país en México. Entonces creo que México tiene una parte de liderazgo de ello y que estamos de verdad con mucho entusiasmo de que esto crezca. Y aprovecho el comercial, presidente, para decir que levantamos la mano para tener el foro en México y siempre será bienvenido a que podamos estar colaborando con este gran trabajo de todos ustedes y que nos daría el honor de poderlo albergar en América por primera vez.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And I hope we interact more, even though distances seem great. When it's about sports, when it's about tradition and culture, I think it's a real good way to bring people closer more quickly than other things. And I will go back to the Gambia, His Excellency Bakari Baji. What are some of your plans going forward in reviving traditional sports in your country?
Thank you. Well, moving forward, I think the first thing is to initiate where they don't exist or reinforce where exist networks. Networks acting locally within the sub-region, but also across borders into other continents. And we believe that through networking, we are able to, one, introduce new sports, new traditional sports in the Gambia, but also learn from the other countries that have been able to move ahead in promoting the traditional sports in their country. So that networking will bring us closer together. And through those collaboration also, we are able to train our people, because there is a need for capacity building, and there is a need for the policy development, and the practicing of that, including training of coaches and training of the athletes and the administrators of the traditional sports, so that it becomes more professional and also more diverse in nature. Capacity building is very necessary. So apart from the infrastructure that I mentioned earlier, we believe that it is important that our people have the knowledge and the skills that is needed to be able to manage the sports and not allow it to die. Because again, there has been traditional sports that were practiced previously, in previous decades, but because of lack of continuity, some of these practices, some of these traditional sports eventually fade out. And so it's important that you have people that can be able to continue, even if those who have the passion for it grow old and they retire. You have a younger group of people that will continue to practice those sports and continue to promote it. So the example that's been given by Niger in terms of ensuring that it is in the curriculum would be a very good thing that Gambia, for instance, can learn from that country and move on. The other thing also is about the policies, synergizing our policies, because despite the fact that you have wrestling, different type of wrestling, traditional and some modern ones, and there are some other practices, the policies might not be there. So we believe that it's important that Gambia gets to have the policies in place, but also synergize our policy with those of the sub-regional countries and those that are at the international level. So that even if you bring somebody else from Gambia to come to Azerbaijan, or somebody from Gambia to Qatar, he or she tend to understand what is required because the policies are in place. So look around, find partners that we can be able to sign MOUs, memorandum of understanding, so that those kind of cultural exchange and traditional exchange can happen for the interest of sports, traditional sports in the Gambia and in West Africa. So these are some of the actions that we will be taking right from this forum moving into the future in order to ensure that Gambia becomes recognized and it's a frequent participant in not just the Ethno Forum, but any other activity that promotes sports, traditional sports specifically.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Obviously, this forum is a great opportunity to also share some success stories, because we have been following, obviously, traditional sports since 2015 globally, and there are some stories where one country like our friends in the Sakha Republic have popularized their mass wrestling to an extent that there are more than 40 federations globally that are set up to practice mass wrestling. This is a very remote country of the world, remote part of the world, and they've been able to popularize their traditional sport in more than 40 countries in America, for instance. So we have also stories of success within countries. I mean, in my country of Turkey, we have had great strides in popularizing traditional archery. And we have a new federation set up about 2-3 years ago. We have, in the last indoors tournament, there were more than 900 competitors, which is a great number for such an event. And of the 60-some federations supported by the Ministry of Sports, it's in top 20 in its first 2-3 years. So there is great grassroots support for these sports. And one instrument in that has been movies and TV. There is a kids show about traditional archery, which is very popular on Sundays, and many kids are watching that. On some competitive programming, there have been shows of showcasing of some traditional sports. Oil wrestling in Turkey has a lot of visual attraction in the last couple of years. In India, for instance, I've been following the movies on their traditional wrestling, Dangal, you know, very popular international blockbuster, and also recently I've seen a movie on the popular game of kabaddi, and I think these type of things also popularize these sports for the younger generation. And to share these experiences from our own countries is also going to be very useful moving forward. And lastly, I would like to go to Niger, His Excellency Adamu Sekudoro. What are your remarks going forward to preserve sports in your country, to increase collaboration? What should be done?
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. À la question que vous venez de me poser sur ce que vous allez faire pour appuyer les sports traditionnels, nous avons pensé à des rencontres bilatérales entre les pays. Cela va renforcer beaucoup plus les échanges entre les pays pour renforcer leurs expériences et apporter leur contribution à leurs différents jeux traditionnels qu'ils ont. Nous avons pensé aussi à une restauration des forums régionaux. Exemple, le pays de la CEDEAO, si je vous prends le pays de la CEDEAO, où nous avons un sport commun qui est la lutte traditionnelle que nous célébrons chaque année, qu'on appelle ça le Tolak. Et ça regroupe 15 pays africains sous le domaine dans le cadre de la lutte traditionnelle. Tout ça, c'est des échanges que nous faisons pour renforcer toujours la cohésion et aussi de maintenir, de revaloriser encore ces jeux traditionnels. Nous avons pensé aussi à une instauration de forums intercontinents, comme c'est le cas aujourd'hui de ce que nous vivons. L'objectif de ces forums est d'adopter des stratégies pour la valorisation et la sauvegarde des jeux sports traditionnels. Voilà les mots, ce que je peux vous dire là-dessus, Excellence.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, dear ministers, for your remarks. And I think this is also a way for ministers to increase collaboration and cooperation between their countries. We have in Istanbul our Ethnosport Culture Festival. Every year we have invited several different countries' sports to be showcased to audiences in Istanbul, and it has been quite successful. People have been very excited to see Kökbörü from Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, to see Yabusame horseback archery from Japan, to see Pato from Argentina. Maybe next time we'll see Ulama, maybe next time we'll see sumo wrestling. And it is really a nice way of showcasing one's culture in different geographies. This is good for tourism, this is good for cultural exchange. So I think our forum is also a good venue to increase these collaboration in the field of traditional sports and cultural exchange. I would like to thank our ministers for participating, and we will continue with the discussions through the rest of the day to share our comments with each other. We will be taking notes throughout the sessions. And believe us, we definitely take note, and this is useful for our work going forward. And I would like all of you to contribute effectively in the sessions in the rest of the day. Thank you very much. Thank you.